might be wondering how did we even get here, and to find it out you have to stick around for the rest of the video. But for now, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and welcome if you're new here. I'm Don, and today we'll be taking a look at how to play EXOSISTER RYZEAL. Let's get into it. With Burst Protocol, we happen to get two very powerful new EXOSISTER cards. So let's start on the continue spell. That's EXOSISTER Betrayal. On activation, it adds you 2 EXOSISTER monsters, then discard a card. The next effect states that you can target one monster you control immediately after this effect resolves. Normal summon an EXOSISTER monster that's mentioned on that monster. Please note you cannot normal summon Martha with this effect. However, you can target Martha and normal summon Ellis from the hand. The final effect states that if a monster is sent to your opponent's graveyard, even during the damage step, you can activate this effect, make your opponent banish one of them. This has a mistranslation in the TCG where it makes you banish one of them instead of your opponent. Konami swiftly corrected the effect. However, your cards will still have the printed effect, but the actual effect will be on Yu-Gi-Oh! Neuron. So if there is any confusion, you can take a look at Neuron and they'll tell you that this is the effect that you should use. And this is the whole reason why you can even mix the deck into anything, to be honest, because before you could not because of Martha. The next card is Carmel. It requires 2 EXOSISTER monsters, and if it's XE summon, you can set 1 EXOSISTER spell or trap card from your deck, grave, or banishment. Yes, we love that. As for the next effect, when your opponent activates a monster effect or a normal spell or trap card, you can detach all materials from this card, and if you do, the effect becomes add 1 card from your opponent's grave to their hand. So this is where it's similar to the Graph of Fusion. So yeah, you can't respond to continuous spells, continuous traps, or quick play spells, or view spells. That kind of sucks, but you can't wish for everything. On the bright side though, you won't die to evenly match anymore. There's also another card that we got recently in a previous set, and that is Ichiki Sairoi-hime. It's a spirit monster that if you have a monster with 800 attack or defense on the field and it's in your hand, you can use its effect to immediately normal summon itself. And on normal summon, you can add 1 level 4 light or dark monster that has 800 attack or defense. That's pretty much your entire EXOSISTER archetype in the main deck. Alright, so how you go about playing this deck, it's pretty simple, to be honest. You won't really be using Martha's effect if you have any means to get into your RYZEAL lines. If it's the only card in your hand, that's when you'll be using Martha. If you have other cards to play with, then you'll use those cards. And you have to keep in mind, if you special summon any non-EXOSISTER monster at any given time during your turn, you cannot use Martha's effect. That is why this card sucks. And if you activate Martha's effect first and then get Ash, you cannot special summon anything for the rest of your turn. So you have to keep that in mind. A card that I'm playing in this build is the Armament, and that's simply because it serves as a rank up during my opponent's turn. So let's say I use one of my smaller EXOSISTERs to go into this floodgate to turn off graveyard effects. I can use Armament to turn her into another floodgate to turn off special summon from the grave, or I can easily turn him into a monster negate. The only thing you can climb up into is the Magnifica. As for other cards that have restrictions, note that the Returnia have it, so you can choose to cut the Returnia or you can play it, because you will have times where you open Shifter and you'll prefer to go into pure EXOSISTER line, and you have other times where you only open Martha and might as well you just add the Returnia and work. As for the restriction on this card, it states on the first line that you have to control only EXOSISTER monsters, minimum for 1, so it sucks, but it's one of our best trap cards. Aside from that, Vadis is completely fine. I would recommend always play this, because once you set this, you can easily like activate it in your opponent's turn, use the spell, and then trigger them, and it only locks you from the extra deck. So if you have twins underneath your detonator, you can always reborn the detonator and do whatever you want. Come to think of it, if you have twins on the detonator, you could detonator himself with the final material when your opponent activates something, and while it's off the field, you could use the Returnia's effect to banish a card. So that's something you can keep note of. So as for the RYZEAL lineup, you'll be playing the 1 node, 1 X, 1 ice, 1 star, 1 sword. You could cut the ice, to be honest, because the ice is the only one that you won't really be using its effect like that. And by effect, I mean the normal summon effect, because you most likely would be reserving your normal summon for your Stella, which you can play at 3 if you remove the ice. Stella is never bad to summon. You would be using the Stella to summon the Martha about 90% of the times, because you can easily trigger Martha by either shuffling your cards into the deck via the fuse spell or reborning them with the node. Go into your Carmel, and then that's all you really need. And I did mention Dododos. We're playing the 3 warrior, 2 Kage, 1 knight, because it's just easy to summon. Why not? The reason why we're playing 2 Kage is simply because we're always going to banish one, because we need to recycle most of our names. We burn through our names extremely fast, and you banishing one to recycle 2 is really good if you have Martha on the field, because you can immediately go into another one like a Carmel. And I find it really interesting that they have a card that can pretty much recycle your spells and trap from the banishment or grave, but you don't have anything to recycle your monsters. I guess they're saying if your nuns go to the grave, then, you know, RIP for them. All right, so let's take a look at a few combos, and then we can take a look at a few gameplays. Remember, you can leave a like, that would be super appreciated. And if you want to see more videos from me, you can check out the channel. And if you want to see more videos from me in the future, you can subscribe to the channel, then turn on the notification to be notified whenever I make posts. If they don't, then just know that I usually make posts on Thursdays or Fridays, so you can keep that in mind. All right, so this is pretty much the pure combo line for EXOSISTER. So this is what you would do with these spell cards and just a discard. Now, this is the RYZEAL Spice. I know that X is at 1, but you have like many ways to search X in your deck, so you don't really have to worry about that. Alright, so how you'd play this, make sure you simplify just not activating Martha's effect, because Martha locks you. It's the only lock that you have in the deck, and it's the easiest monster to trigger, so you have many ways to get it on the field. Like Stella, if you would go into your usual RYZEAL line, you wouldn't really use your normal summon, because you want to use your normal summon in Stella, which will then special summon the Martha that will add from the Betrayal. If you already open Martha, then you can easily use your normal summon on your RYZEALs and then just add Stella and then Stella would special summon the Martha from your hand, which could easily trigger to go into the Carmel. And there's the Onomad version of the deck. It's far more lenient than the RYZEAL version, mainly because you're not locked into rank 4s, so you can easily make Magnifica, which is super good. And the fact that you're playing Kage, you can easily recycle your Xyz monsters, so that is something you can think about. Another thing is that you have to know when to make certain plays whenever you're playing a deck like this. Like, you have times where you can go RYZEAL like full combo, but based on like the hand trap that you draw, you might be inclined to go into an EXOSISTER combo line. Like, let's say you own something like a Shifter Ellis, because Ellis can special summon herself, and the Betrayal would then special summon the Stella from the hand, because Ellis mentions her. You want to be banishing all of your RYZEAL cards. Not to mention, most of your RYZEAL cards cannot be activated while Shifter is online, so just keep that in mind. If you go into your EXOSISTER lines, you can confidently put your opponent under 4 turns of Shifter by using Carmel's effect. Whenever they try to do something, you just Carmel and force them to add back the Shifter, because it's the only card in your graveyard. And we were doing this in RYZEAL before, where we would Shifter and then use the detonator to attach the Shifter and then search another Shifter, and the next turn we just activate Shifters, so we'll have our opponents under 4 turns of Shifter. Keep in mind, like, the ultimate weakness of this deck is the fact that you cannot respond to quick play spells and continuous trap or field spells. You have a few cards that provide non-targeting, like banish, and with the continuous spell, you can have any one of your small EXOSISTER monsters on the field along with any big monster to like battle and destroy a monster, and then just force your opponent to banish that monster to trigger your small EXOSISTER monsters. It's really nice because it allows you to deal a lot more damage than you might think. Power up into like monsters that you weren't able to power up into before. By far, like, the weakest decks against this deck are the graveyard reliant decks, because if you open Shifter or anything that banishes monsters, then you're pretty much cooked. And with the amount of consistency cards you have in EXOSISTER, it's really crazy. Like, the only thing that you are afraid of is the Radiant Typhoon deck, not mainly for the Radiant Typhoon cards, but for that monster that returns every either back row or monsters on the field to the hand. That really sucks. So that card will keep you under wraps like for a good while. You should always keep in mind that this deck, it kind of struggles going seconds. So if you have cards that aren't board breakers, then you won't be able to like do anything much when you're playing against a deck like this. And as I mentioned before, playing against decks like Radiant Typhoon with that huge guy that returns everything to the hand, it pretty sucks because you can't really do anything once they trigger that card, to be honest. And unfortunately, I happened to got that card summoned on me twice, and it's not pleasant. So you can really see how it's a really oppressive deck going second into. And that will pretty much be it for the video today, guys, and see you guys next time.